Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Whiteboard Friday. I'm Austin, the CEO and co-founder of Lambda School, and today we're going to be talking about Lambda part-time. So Lambda part-time, as most of you know, is our program that runs in the evenings. Instead of running full-time for 30 weeks, it runs part-time for 52 weeks. So it's at least a year long. Depending on scheduling, we might add a week or two or subtract a week or two, depending on vacations and some other stuff. But think of it as about a year. Lambda School part-time is a serious commitment. So it runs in Pacific time from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific on Monday through Thursday. And on Saturdays, we go 9 a.m. to noon Pacific time. And we've done a video in the past on what the day-to-day is like as a Lambda School student in the full-time web development class. But let's take a second to talk about part-time. In this, we're going to talk about the full-stack web development and computer science course. But the other tracks, iOS, data science, they follow a vaguely similar pattern. So just kind of map what we're talking about into the data science world or into the iOS or Android or UX world. And it's basically the same. So the first thing we do on Monday morning is we jump right into a guided demo. So that's basically a lecture. We introduce a new topic, we run through it, and it's a little bit different than the full-time class. In the full-time class, we have more day to work with. In the part-time class, it's broken up, so there are many more smaller segments. But it's still the same material, all the same curriculum, and we'll go through all of it the same way you would in a full-time class. It just takes longer because you spend less time per day. So we start out with a guided demo. That's kind of an instructor walking through a project, showing you how to do something. Then after the guided demo, you have project time. That's only an hour on Mondays. You'll work through the project for an hour, and then that's all you've got time for. Of course, you can stay after and work later, but if you're on the East Coast, that finishes up at 9 p.m. Pacific, so that's midnight on the East Coast. You might just want to get heading to bed and getting ready for your job that you probably have in the morning. So it depends on your unique circumstances. On Tuesday, we do a code challenge, and then we have a solution lecture with a question and answer about the code challenge. So normally we warm up every day in full time with a code challenge. Since there's not as many hours, it doesn't make sense to do a code challenge every day in the part-time, and we kind of break it up. So we start with a code challenge, and then we do a Q&A, and then we get some more project time, and then at the very end of Tuesday, for the last half hour, we do a stand-up. So that's when we talk about what we've done during the day. You'll work with the TA, you'll figure out what you're missing, what's holding you back, if you're stuck on anything. And instead of doing that every day like we do in full-time, we do it every other day because there are less hours. On Wednesday, we go into what we call a deep dive demo. So that gets a little more in-depth into the topic that we were studying in the first couple of days. And then we wrap up Wednesday, again, working on a project. It's a different project than this one, but it's usually covering the same topic. And then Thursday, we start out Thursday with a code review. So that's when somebody's going to look at your code, they'll critique you, they'll determine how you're doing, they'll talk about things that you're missing. After the code review, you have a little more project time, and then another stand-up just like we had on Tuesday. At the end of Thursday, we have what we call our solution lecture. So that is when the instructor is going to come back. We'll take a look at the projects that we did earlier in the week, and he kind of shows you how he would have done it. And you can see how a real professional would do the same thing that you should be doing. Obviously you might miss a couple things, but that's the general idea. And then the big interesting day is on Saturday. So 9 a.m. to noon Saturday morning, or on the East Coast, that's noon to 3 p.m. We have our sprint challenge. So that is when you're given a task that takes about 3 hours. You'll spend the whole time trying to complete that task. And at the end, you'll be given a score that determines whether or not you've understood the things that you've learned that week. So a 1 is not satisfactory, a 2 means you've learned enough, and a 3 means that you have exceeded expectations. If you're getting 1s, then we're going to work with you and try to figure out what needs to change, what we need to fix. We'll put in extra hours, assign more people, whatever it takes to make sure that you're up to snuff with where you need to be. Yeah, and that is Lambda School part-time. So same curriculum, same material. Because it's not broken out into 8-hour days, it's broken out into 3-hour days, plus Saturdays. It's a very, very different schedule, but generally speaking, it follows the same flow. We just take the things that are a little more interchangeable and plug them in different places. And that is a day in the life of a part-time Lambda School student.